everyone. Welcome back to Poorboys Little Homestead. Glad to see y'all stop in today. What am I doing? Well, I'm going around freshening up my mulch. So y'all come on over here a little closer and let me give y'all some tips for when you mulch in your garden, things to use and what you need to do in putting it in. So come on over here a little closer. The wind's blowing. That way I won't have to talk as loud to you. That right there was my asparagus bed. I'm just freshening it up. The wind's been blowing so strong here the last few days, it done blew a lot of it out. And I like to spruce it back up every few days. Same thing in my asparagus container there. But right here, guys, is a little bed that I planted some more candy onion seeds in just a few days ago. And they starting to come up. First off, I want to start out with why you need the mulch. Mulch does multiple things. One thing, it's just like this bed here don't have no mulch. And this little raised bed is an open bottom. But the wind and the sun dries it out so quick. Just a little layer of mulch will keep that from drying out. Keeps your moisture in there longer. Second thing mulch does is it helps smother out the weeds. See, these onions is already coming out, so I'm gonna put a layer of mulch in here. But when you putting mulch on something that you seeded, or before you seeded it, you need to try to have it real thin until your plants come up through it, and then you can come back and add you a little more. Now, a lot of plants, when I know just planting single plants, you can go on and pull out your mulch, put it in there and pull out that little spot, and that plant will come up through there. Then you can spruce it up as it grows. But on this here, I'm just gonna put a thin little layer, real thin, light. That way my onions can come on through it. But it'll be some there already, so when I come back to add, it won't be as hard to add more mulch. Now, as far as types of mulch you use, you see this, them onions, I'm using straw mulch. I like to use dried leaves when I have enough from the fall, I'll rake up. But this year I done used all of them because I tilled them into my other garden space into the ground. So I can buy this straw here locally for like $4 a bale, and guys, one bale of mulch a lot. Just about everything I got out here I can mulch with 2 bales of straw. Straw, I don't like using hay, and this here, guys, is a little more toward what I call hay than the old wheat straw. I went and got this, and they didn't have the wheat straw I normally get. Wherever they got this is, they was calling it straw, but this here is getting more on the, like hay you feed dang animals. And I really don't like using hay. I like using the bigger stalks of straw. But again, you can use dried leaves, works real good. Pine straw. Now, I like pine straw, and in the fall I can get all the pine straw I want right across the road. You do research on pine straw, people have different opinions. A lot of them say it's got too much acidity in it. Well, I have my own opinion about that. Pine straw does have acidity in it, but it takes pine straw so long. I mean, it's one of the best ones to me because it'll last a long time, and I'll show y'all over here around my blueberry plants. I put that in there early fall, or in the winter really, and it still looks good. So it takes it months to break down. And to me, by the time it breaks down, it ain't enough acidity added to your soil that it's going to affect anything. If you do use it and you think the acidity's affecting anything, all you got to do is go buy you a bag of lime, which is cheap, and just take your little bit of lime and sprinkle around your plant, and it counter react the acidity that the pine straw may be putting off. So like I said, I'm not one that believes that pine straw puts too much acidity in your soil. If I had good pine straw right now, that's what I'd be using. A lot of the people use their grass clippings out of their yard. Now to me, I have my opinion about that. Grass clippings, I got enough weeds to deal with already because I'm using cow manure, aged cow manure, and it's got its weed seeds in it, and I got enough already without putting my grass clippings in here and adding more weed seeds. But I do have two tips. If you're going to use your grass clippings and you put them in as mulch when that grass is green, you better put you a thin layer, and I'm talking thin, real thin and loose. Don't put no clumps. If you put it clumps or you start putting it too thick, it's going to start composting down and build up a heat that's going to kill your plant. But if you'll put it real thin and let it stay out there several days until the sun turns it brown, basically like hay, then come back and add you a little more next time you mow your yard. If you'll do it like that, you'll be all right. Second tip is on grass clippings, try to only get your grass from a spot in your yard you mow it before any of that grass has went to seed, and try to get it out of a spot of your yard where it ain't no weeds. It's just good grass. Now, most of my yard, it's got clover and all kind of weeds in it, so I'm not using no grass clippings and bringing more seeds in my garden. So let's move over here to this muscadine vines, and I'll show y'all something else I'm gonna give y'all a tip about. As you can see on my muscadine vines, this straw here, it's been out here for about 6 weeks now, but I'm gonna spruce it up and put a little more around it. One of the main things when I was saying earlier, mulch around the plant, pull that mulch back away from that stem. And after it rains and the wind, that's why you gotta steady come back around and what I call spruce it up, because that mulch gets up here close to that stem and stays up there, and you get a lot of rain, the moisture will build up and it'll cause your stem to rot in two and kill your plant. So always keep your mulch pulled back away from your plant right there at the stem. I try to keep my grass out here far enough around that I can weed eat without worrying about getting too close to my plant with that weed eater. This here's a tomato. This here's a lollipop cherry tomato. I'm gonna put a little more in this bucket, but like I said, I keep it right down here at the bottom. I try to keep it away. Now this is a wick bucket. If you don't know what a wick bucket or a wick tub is, you need to go back and watch one of my videos on how you make wick tubs and how they work. Keeps you from having to water as often. But even though it's a wick tub and my plant's already big, I like keeping me some mulch around it. It just helps keep the moisture in on the top layer of the soil and keeps the grass from coming up. And guys, the third thing that mulch does, it's one of the most important things for tomatoes, is you put mulch around your tomatoes, and when it rains and stuff, that dirt and diseases that's in your soil won't splash up on your tomatoes, and that's what causes a lot of your disease to start on your tomatoes. So if you'll keep them mulched good, it keeps that from splashing up and it keeps your diseases down. So one, like I said, it keeps moisture in your soil. Two, helps keep the weeds under control. And three is the most important one to me. It keeps your diseases down on your plants. Now I'll come back around after a while with my little watering jug, and I put a little water on top of this new straw. That way to go on and get a little moisture in it and help hold it down so the wind won't blow it off. Like I said, our wind's been terrible the last couple of days. And I came out this morning and I had a basil about 18 inches tall in one of my beds or pots over here, and the wind last night broke it off. It's my fault though. I should have done put a better stake on it after it done got tall as it did, but just one of them things that slipped my mind. I didn't get it staked, and the wind last night broke it off. Matter of fact, here's my other basil. And the one on the other end was in a little pot just like this, was a little bit taller than this one. So this morning when I seen it broke off, I come get me a little cane stake, put in here and tied this off. Now I don't mulch stuff like my lettuce. Once my lettuce gets up growing, I plant mine thick as cut and come again. Spinach on bottom, kale and stuff like it. It's gonna cover and make its own shade to keep the moisture in and help keep the weeds down. When you see weeds, then they done got taller like these right here, and then you can pull them out. But I don't go trying to look up in there and get weeds while they real little. I'll wait till they get big enough I can see them. Y'all can see this in here never has had any mulch put in it. I actually took this plant out of another area and moved it down here a few weeks ago. Never did mulch it. I can't remember what variety this is, but this is a type of flowering and going to seed. We're gonna let it go to seed. We don't have too bad of winter. This here still be here next year. Matter of fact, this is one that made it through the freeze and snow and ice last year. But it wasn't in this little pot, it was in a smaller pot. Now here's an example of a pine straw. You see this pine straw's been out here since, well, on this plant, this pine straw's been put on here in like January, and maybe I may have put a little more on it in February. But if you are worried about the acidity in pine straw and don't want to use it nowhere else, you do need to use it around your blackberries and like your blueberries. So them are acidity plants. Look at that blackberry, baby blackberry right there. This here's a Freedom Art blackberry. They like acidity soil. So when I planted these, I went and got some acidity soil mixture and added to my soil when I planted this here to add acidity to it anyway. So if you're worried about acidity in the pine straw, put it around all your blackberries, blueberries. I don't know what else. Let's see. I think that's all I got that really. I got 2 or 3 different varieties of blackberries. you can use it around your berry bushes because they like acidity soil anyway. But I just come back around and you can see where the rain, it done washed that out there, and I just take some of this where it washed it down and put it back up there. Like I said, keep it pulled away from your stems, because it will cause your stems to rot off right where they go into the soil. If you get that mulch up there close and it gets wet, it stays wet. This little bed here is where I planted some little yellow onions. I'm gonna go on and try to pick some of these little weeds I see coming up. So I'm gonna just put a thin, light layer on this, because the onions will grow right up through it as long as you got it thin and real thin and loose and it ain't packed down. But as the onions grow through it, then I already got a start there that I can just come back and dress up around it and add a little more to it. But just like these onions right here, I had that in mulch with leaves. Well, you can see the leaves, they don't last that long. They break down and they all gone. So now it's gonna be hard to really get that mulch good, because you can't get that mulch all around them onions and all that. That's why I like to start out like this. Now guys, these onions is already established in good size. And it ain't gonna be just a little bit longer, they gonna be ready to harvest. I'm putting this in here now because the temperature is getting up and they get dry so quick. I have to water them every other day just about. Some days our temperature goes back down too cold. This crazy temperature we have. But as light as I'm putting that in there, it's just basically to help on moisture here. I ain't getting it thick enough because, like I said, if you get it too thick, even around your onions, it'll cause your onions to rot down there where they go into the soil. So I'm just putting a thin little layer to help block the sun on these. Already blowing away what I've done here, so I gotta go get my water can and put a little water so it'll get this straw wet so it'll stay in place. Now guys, another example of using mulch is this ground fabric. To me, that's a tight mulch. And you can see one of my in-ground gardening spots, I got the whole garden covered with this ground cover. But even though I got ground cover under my tomatoes, that ground cover's folded. Cut a hole in it, fold it back around the plant, but it still got dirt down there about that big around. But I come and I mulch under there just because I don't want no splatter coming up on my tomatoes and causing the tomato diseases. But even if you got ground cover, it's still a good idea to put mulch, especially under your tomatoes. Well guys, I was looking at my squash down here. But there's a big one needs cut there. Several needs picked again. I just picked them yesterday. But this is what I'm talking about. These storms and this the wind's been doing me more damage than the cold weather this year. Look at that. Broke one of my squash off last night. It had 3 or 4 squash that had been ready tomorrow. There's 3 that have been ready tomorrow and a couple more little ones coming. Yeah, the wind is killing me. Well guys, y'all may be finna learn another little tip within this video. This little video was supposed to be about mulch until I come across my squash broke off, and I just had an idea. I got some of these 8-inch long ground fabric staples. We used to have some 12-inch ones. I'm gonna go right along my squash, and I'm gonna put one of them ground staples in each one of them, and maybe that'll keep me from getting another one broke off by the wind like the one we just looked at. So there's y'all free tip, guys. Didn't cost you a thing in this video. Never know what you might learn watching Poorboys Little Homestead, so you need to hit that subscribe button so you can get notifications. Give me a big thumbs up and share my videos. That's the best way you can help me grow this channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Alright guys, I got my little harvest basket this morning. I'm finna continue sprucing up my mulch, stake down the rest of my squash. I hope y'all liked this little video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Hit that like button. If you ain't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. It'll notify you when I'm getting new videos posted. Share my videos. Them 3 things is the best thing you can do to help me grow my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. But thanks for watching. God bless, and y'all have a great day. See y'all next time.